I want to show you how this gym owner added 25 grand in recurring revenue to his gym in 90 days without having to do discounts, any sort of sleazy sales techniques, or just running a bunch of paid in full plays, cannibalizing his recurring revenue. And in fact, I'm going to give you the 5 things Danny did to go from freaking out that his gym was going to shut down to then in 90 days having a completely different business. And I do think the last step that I'll share with you is probably the most critical. And it's also the biggest reason for his continued success, because when I tell you where he's at right now, about a year later from when this first occurred, you're going to absolutely be blown away. And I don't think you'll actually believe it. But as you can see here in the screenshot, Danny dropped that his EFT is finally up. He had to sell his soul every day, but he finally is hitting 30 to 40 grand in revenue. And his EFT is 25 grand of that. He's finally at a point where if he did get hit by a bus, his gym wouldn't close right away. But the greatest thing is, like, prior to this, all of his revenue was like he just had to sling deals to get anything. He was starting the month at absolutely zero every single time. And prior to this, like, he was faced with bouts of, I don't know if this is going to work. I don't think this is going to make it. Do I need to go back and get my corporate job? Because he left a cushy 6-figure corporate job in order to actually own his gym. But obviously that didn't have to happen. Nowadays, life is even freaking better for him. But I want to talk about how we did this. The first thing that we did is we had to think about how can we actually separate his gym from every other gym in the market. His gym is in a crowded Southern California market where it feels like there's a gym on every corner. So we had to do 3 things initially to make it happen. Number 1, we had to dive into his offer. What is his offer? How can we make his offer different than every other gym around him? We did by deploying our 3-step offer codex process, which takes from our Kingpin offer framework, which we didn't do fully initially because we didn't need to, but we did have to deploy the offer codex. And then when we actually had an offer that none of his competition was using, that allowed his businesses alone to stand out in that regard, while then, to a degree, peacocking to his ideal client, we then had to position that offer and position it so that he no longer looked like everybody else. And then we had to package what they were getting. So 1, we could make sure that it would be profitable on the front end. And 2, when it's actually pitched to the prospect, they go, yeah, this is everything I need. This is going to get me exactly to the outcome in which I was promised. So that's the first thing, is how do we actually separate the business, the gym, from every other one? Because if you don't, especially in this industry, it's easy to get commoditized where the only thing that matters for people is price, and that's the last place you want to be competing on. The second thing we did is we had to make sure he got not just quantity of leads, but quantity of leads was coming in, because you can have one amazing lead a day, you're not going to fucking scale with that. So we had to make sure they had a combination of both. We do this when you position your business differently than the competition, your marketing can become more effective. How? It's the messaging that you actually put out there. It's the creative images, the videos, all that. They then get your client's attention. The channels in which you actually deploy your offer onto. All of this matters. You use this both in paid side and organic side, and for him, we used both. The paid side is, it creates leverage. If I have the right offer that has been dialed in and I have marketing that allows me to truly stand out, that positions me in a unique way, I can then put fuel on that to get it in front of as many eyeballs as I want by running paid traffic. But it's not the only thing that you want to do. You can actually get, especially with organic, you can increase the reach, you can nurture all that. So we improved the quantities with a bunch of the processes that we put in, or the quality of it. But you want to use a combination, and we did that even inside of the 90 days. In the second half of the last month, like, he wasn't even running ads. So you don't have to do that. But when you do it properly, as you can see in this time period, he generated 607 leads. When done properly, it's really hard to lose when you're getting that much volume. The third thing is, it doesn't matter if you're getting leads if you're actually not converting them. So we went ahead and deployed the sales codex to fix the holes inside of the sales process. A big problem that a lot of gym owners have is they either try and sell into like an LBO, which is a low barrier offer, which usually is, it's like 21 days for $21, or like get 2 weeks for $14, or like 50% off your first month. It's something that's using price as the main lever, which personally is my least favorite, because you're literally bringing somebody in who only gives a shit about price, or you're only tapping into a very, very small segment of the market that every single other gym owner is actually going for too. So it's just not the most effective. The other issue that a lot of gym owners run into is they just sell the front end, resulting in, like, you've heard of the challenges, stuff like that, selling just a challenge, but like just selling that that time frame and that's it. And as a result, and maybe even like over promising and under delivering, as a result, people churn out and they don't stay. So both of these create issues. One, with like running LBOs, it becomes very, very difficult to create profitable front end marketing while also bringing in like good quality clients. Same thing, if you're running just the front ends, you're constantly a lot of times having to restart every single month because people aren't continuing on. A lot of times it's not just the offers, it's the sales process. So what we did deploy the sales codex, and we focused on two components of that codex, which is the pitch as well as the nurture process. As a result of actually diving in here, we were able to get more people showing up pre-sold. And then when they came in because of the pitch, they're not just going for some sort of front end offer, they're actually signing up for a year. So now I have this recurring revenue with a more committed individual inside of my gym, which then allows me to have more predictability, forecast better, all of this. But I would be remiss not to mention that in conjunction with this, we did help introduce some AI to take some of the load off his back when it came to the nurture process. And as you can see just in this screenshot here, he had 4 ships, the year changed to 76 month, and he's had 12 just that week alone from when that screenshot was changed. Now again, like some of the stuff he's doing now is absolutely bonkers and it's amazing, but it all started here. Once we had that in place, we needed to make sure that we also changed his onboarding and improve the customer experience so that the people didn't just leave on the back end. Because it doesn't matter if you're signing people up if they're not staying. And in the past, he did have churn issues. So we did focusing on his onboarding efforts, because how you onboard somebody determines the relationship between you and the new client, especially over that like first 30, 60, 90 days. And that's what they're determining, is this something I'm going to do for life? Or is this something that like just bad experience, not going to come, not going to recommend anybody? What I wanted to do, especially in my gyms, what we encourage our clients to do in their gyms, is I want the community that I've built, the gym that I have, to be the talk of the dinner table. Or like when they're at work, like they can't stop talking about, the workouts they have, the people that they have, what is going on there, all that stuff. And that's exactly what he did. As a result, he went from losing 90% of his new clients within the first 2 months to over 90% staying beyond 60 days. And as a result of having such a great customer experience on that front end, he increased referrals as well, which now means I'm signing somebody up from whether it's paid or organic or whatever. And then on top of that, that one person is bringing in another new person who's like easier to be sold because the referrals are the best leads in the world. Now, on top of that, we then went ahead and fixed what's between his ears. And I think this is actually the most important, because our thoughts create our words create our actions, and our actions create our reality. If you do not believe you can be successful, if you do not believe that you're in a good market, if you do not believe that people are willing to invest much higher prices inside of your program, then it's just not going to happen. It doesn't matter if I give you the perfect program on a silver platter. If you do not believe it to be true, it is just not going to occur. You will either like just not do anything, you will self-sabotage, all that. So we really like were able to dial in and fix that. And of course it helps when you get some initial quick success and like that. But as you saw here, he, and just frankly, inside of the communities, we don't shy away from having hard conversations, and we like to do them very, very early, because that's truly what helps people change. If we're bringing in our baggage, we just have to eliminate it. We have to fucking get that shit out of the ship prior to it just rearing its head back in, you creating this vicious cycle of just continuing into essentially where you are right now. So as you can see here, he said, thanks for clearing up his mental fog. What projected to be a terrible month came into a positive T month. These are all statements on this. So I wanted to share this because these are just 5 simple steps that we did to increase his EFT in that time period up 25 grand in just a 90-day window. So I always say, like, the reason I love gyms is in a very, very short instant, the entire business can completely change. And when you have this foundation and when you go all in and you have the right tools in place, you can then build something like Danny, where he's now for like last 6 months plus is doing over 140K months consistently. But it all started here. So if you want to grow your gym, if you want to solve your client getting issues, if you want to have more free time, if you want to have a business that you love, that you get to go to, not one that you have to be at, then around this video or inside of the description here on YouTube, click the link, book a demo with my team, and we'll walk through our entire process and see if it's a good fit for you and what you can expect when it's actually deployed in your gym. If you found this helpful, please share it with somebody or comment below. Till next time.